Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ashok Kumar from Government Women Engineering College, Ajmer. This is lecture 1 of array synthesis, and in this lecture 1 of array synthesis I am going to discuss about Skelnoff polynomial method. The following content will be addressed during lecture 1 of array synthesis. First, the introduction, then analysis of Skelnoff polynomial method, and then some problem based on the Skelnoff polynomial method. The content of this lecture 1 is prepared with the help of following books. First, we need to discuss about the introduction or background of array synthesis. Array synthesis is usually refers to the antenna pattern synthesis when the source is known, and antenna pattern synthesis usually requires that first an approximate analytical model is chosen to present either exactly or approximately the desired pattern, and then in the second step it is to match the analytical model to a physical antenna model. So this is the step procedure that can be used to understand in the antenna pattern synthesis. The antenna pattern synthesis can be classified in three categories. In first category, it requires that the antenna pattern possesses nulls in the desired direction. I means how many nulls exist in the antenna pattern, and this method introduced by Skolnick and can be used to accomplish this, and this method we have discussed in this lecture 1 of array synthesis. The second category requires that the pattern exhibit a desired distribution in the entire visible region. This is referred to as beam shaping. Beam shaping is important for in the case of second category, and this can be accomplished by using the Fourier transform and the Woodward-Lawson methods. And in the subsequent lectures we have discussed about these Woodward-Lawson methods and other methods also. And in the third category, that includes to produce pattern with narrow beams and low side lobes, and it can be accomplished using the binomial array and solve C by chief, or sometimes saying C by chief methods. Other techniques are the Taylor line source, C by chief error, and the Taylor line source. And this source is based on the one parameter that we need to discuss in the subsequent lecture. And the analysis of third category 4, a binomial array and of C by chief methods we have discussed in the antenna array series, and you can see the analysis of binomial and of C by C methods in the antenna array series. So the pattern synthesis method will be utilized to design line sources and linear arrays whose space factors and array factors will yield desired far-field radiation pattern, and this will we have discussed in this lecture. In general, pattern synthesis is applied to a continuous line source and discretization of the continuous sources, and one by one we have discussed about the continuous line source and discretization of continuous sources. First, we need to discuss about the continuous line sources. A continuous line sources contributes uh, are, or we can say distributions are the function of only one coordinate, and they can be used to approximate linear array of discrete elements and vice versa. The array factor of discrete element array placed along the z-axis is given by array factor equal to by using this expression, and this expression we have discussed in the antenna array series in the case of uniform linear array, and these uniform n number of elements array placed along the z direction, and spacing between the elements we have considered is the d, and gamma is the angle between the axis of I mean z axis and the radial vector from the origin to the observation point, as we have discussed in the uniform linear array. with equal spacing. So there we can get the value of psi. This is the progressive phase shift, which is equal to kd cos gamma plus beta. And in the antenna arrays with uniform spacing, we have considered gamma is equal to theta when we are putting the discrete elements along the z axis. So this equation is not new. This we have discussed in antenna array series. And the important is that in the antenna array series we have considered a of n equal to 1, but here we have considered the values of an, and this value of an is the amplitude excitation coefficients. As the number of elements increases in a fixed length array, the source approaches to a continuous distribution, and this is important. If we have take consider n number of elements, suppose 1 2 3 and so on, then in that case if we have to increase the number of fixed length array, then the source approaches to continuous distribution, as this distribution can be seen from the analysis of the half wave dipole, or we can say in during the infinitesimal dipole analysis also. For a continuous distribution, the factor that corresponds to the array factor is known as the space factor. So the important is in the antenna arrays we have discussed the array factor, but here we have considered during the array synthesis we have considered array factor as a space factor. And for a line source distribution of length L placed symmetrically along Z axis, as you can see, this is the figure of the continuous sources, and this figure is a discrete sources. Here you can see this is the continuous element, and we have considered the length L, and from the minus L by 2 to plus L by 2 with respect to origin we have considered, and the angle phi from the x-axis and angle theta from the z-axis, and this is the point of the observation point, and the distance from the origin is r. And we have considered here gamma is equal to theta when we are putting continuous source along the z-axis. In that case we need to calculate the space factor, and this space factor we can calculate by using this expression, and which exist along the minus L by 2 to plus L by 2, and I n z dash e की power j k z dash cos theta plus phi n z dash into d z dash. Here the two important factors I n z dash are the amplitude distribution, and phi n z dash is the phase distribution along the source. For a uniform distribution, phase distribution, as we have discussed in antenna arrays, where we have seen that phi of n z dash is equal to 0. In that case, by putting phi n z dash is equal to 0, in that case we can calculate the space factor for the uniform phase distribution. Further, for a continuous source distribution, the total field is given by the product of the element and space factor, and it is analogous to the pattern multiplication of the array. This analysis also we have discussed in antenna array also, and we can say that during the array synthesis, uh, the total field is the multiplication of the individual antenna element field and the space factor that we have calculated in equation 2. And this is the property of the multiplication property of the arrays. Discretization of the continuous sources is the second source that can be used to analysis for the array synthesis, and the radiation characteristics of the continuous sources can be approximated by discrete element array and vice versa, and it can be shown in figure B. Here you can see we are taking a number of elements at discrete distance having d, and total length of the array is considered L. So, with the discrete element, the spacing d between them are placed along the length of the continuous sources. Smaller spacing between the elements yield better approximation, and they can even capture the fine details of the continuous distribution radiation characteristics. If I mean the distance between 2 point sources is very small, as we have discussed in the infinitesimal dipole. The similar procedure can be adopted here also for the discretization of the continuous sources. In that case, we have considered one example. The continuous line source distributed ion of Z of equation 2 can be approximated by a discrete element array whose element excitation coefficients are determined by the sampling of I n Z dash e to the power j phi n Z dash at the specified element position within the range minus L by 2 to plus L by 2. So here in the discretization we are taking the sampling with this factor, so we can calculate the radiation characteristics using the current discrete current sources. The radiation pattern of the digitized discrete element array will approximate the pattern of the continuous sources. So this analysis we have considered for the array synthesis also, and one by one these two process, I mean continuous source and discrete sources, will be considered to analyze the different array synthesis methods. Then further we have discussed the important array synthesis method that is known as the Skolnoff polynomial, and we have discussed in the previous slides about the Skolnoff polynomial where the nulls of the pattern is known. In that case, we can use Skolnoff polynomial method, and this is the synthesis of array whose pattern possesses nulls in the desired direction that introduced by the Skolnoff. To complete the design process, this method required information on the number of nulls and their locations. The number of elements and their excitation coefficient are then derived when the number of nulls and their location are given or specified. In that case, we can calculate the number of elements and their excitation coefficients by using Skolnoff polynomial. In the end of this lecture 1 of array synthesis, we have considered one example to calculate the number of elements, their location and their radiation pattern. The analytical formulation of this techniques as follows. For a array factor for an element equally spaced, non-uniform amplitude and progressive phase excitation is given. In that case, we can calculate array factor n is equal to 1 to n by using this expression, as we have discussed in the initial of this lecture 1 of array synthesis, that we have calculated by using this equation 3, where in that equation when we are putting the value of gamma is equal to theta when we are placed along the z axis, then we will get the array factor, where an accounts for the uniform amplitude coefficient of the each element. The spacing between the elements is d and beta is the progressive phase shift. Letting z is equal to x plus jy and equal to e to the power j psi, which is equal to g e to the power j kd cos theta plus beta, and this is very important for calculating their excitation coefficient and space array factor for the when we are considering the Skolnick polynomial method. And this equation 3 we can rewrite by considering the assumption z, and we can calculate the array factor from for n number of elements and having the excitation coefficient value an and z to the power n minus 1, which is can be expressed a1 plus a2 z plus a3 z square and so on an z n minus 1, and this expression has a polynomial of degree n minus 1. From the mathematical complex variables and algebra, any polynomial of degree n minus 1 has n minus 1 roots, or here roots means the zeros which corresponds to the nulls in a array, uniform array, and can be expressed as the product of n minus 1 linear terms, and thus we can rewrite the equation 5 as array factor a of n is the excitation coefficient z minus z1 z minus z2 and so on z minus z minus 1, where z1 z2 z3 and z minus 1 are the roots, I mean zeros, which correspond to the nulls of the polynomial, which may be the complex or which may be the real. And the magnitude of equation 6 can be expressed by equation 7, as you can see here, array factor का modulus mod equal to this expression. So the complex variable z of the equation 4 can be written in the another form. This is equation 4, so we can take the mode of z, then mode of e की power j psi, z का mod e की power j psi, which is z का mod angle of psi, which is equal to 1 angle of psi, and the value of psi is equal to kd cos theta plus beta, which is equal to 2 pi upon lambda. We are putting the value of k and d cos theta plus beta. So it is clear from these equations that any value of d, theta and beta, the magnitude of z always lie on the unit circle, as you can see in equation 8, but its phase depends on the d, theta and beta coefficients. From equation 7, we can get the magnitude of array factor is proportional to the product of the distances between z and z1, 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 z2 and zn minus 1, the roots of the array factor. In addition, the phase of array factor is equal to the sum of the phases between z and each of the zeros roots, and that we have discussed about the magnitude and phase in this figure 2 of array factor having the roots with inside and outside unit circle and visible and invisible region. Here you can see this is the point z, and different roots lies on the space where z1, z2, z3 are lies outside this unit circle, and this is the unit circle, and z Z7, Z6, Z5 and Z4 lies within the unit circle or on the unit circle, and we can calculate the roots of array factor on a unit circle, and within the visible region you can see here the roots lies on the unit circle are get from the figure 2a, that is Z4, Z7 and with respect to z. So here you can see this is the direction of the direction, and this is the visible region for a roots of the array factor, and this roots z1, z2 and z3 lies outside the unit circle, and z6 and z5 lies inside the circle or on the circles but not on the visible range. And these three important conditions that you can consider, if all the roots are located on the visible region of unit circle as can be seen, then each one corresponds to null in the pattern of magnitude of array factor, because as theta changes, z changes and eventually pass through the each of zn, as we have discussed. In condition 2, when all the zeros are not on the visible region of the unit circle but some lies outside it, and or any other point not on the unit circle, then only those zero on the visible region will contribute to the nulls of the pattern and can be seen geometric in figure 2. Here you can see this is z, and z4 and z7 lies on the unit circle, but z5, z1, z2 and z3 are lies outside the circle or within the circle. If no zero exists in the visible region of unit circle, then that particular array factor has no nulls at any value of theta. The third important observation or condition that we can see from the figure 2, if a given zeros lies on the unit circle but not in its visible region, that zero can be included in the pattern by changing the phase excitation coefficient, so that the visible region is rotated until it encompasses the root. So this is the third observation that we can see from the Stirnov polynomial method. Here we have considered the two cases, in which cases in the first case we have considered beta is equal to 0, and we have plotted the visible and invisible region boundaries for the complex variable z when beta is equal to 0. Here you can see in figure 3 a, b, c and d, and the magnitude and phase and the value of theta we have considered 0 to pi radian. For d is equal to lambda by 8, lambda by 4, lambda by 2 and 3 lambda by 4. Then you can see when we are drawing the visible and invisible region. In that case, this is the x and this is the imaginary axis that we have considered, z is equal to x plus jy. In that case, you can see for the different values of theta which lies from 0 to pi, then we can calculate the phase, and phase lies from minus 45 to plus 45 degree. As you can see, theta is equal to 0, this is plus 45 degree, and theta is equal to 180 degree, then this is the minus 45 degree. And this angular sector gives the one important conclusion, that is the visible region, and outside of this region is called the invisible region. Here you can see, in the case of d is equal to lambda by 4 and theta varies from 0 to pi, in that case we can draw, and this is we can draw as theta is equal to 0 and theta is equal to 180 degree, and this is the direction of the phase. And here you can see this is the visible region. At d is equal to lambda by 2 and we are taking different value of theta, then we can calculate the value of psi for and it is important analysis is observed that for the unit circle at distance d is equal to lambda by 2 we can get the visible region, but there is no invisible region exists in the case of d is equal to lambda by 2. But we can extend d is equal to 3 lambda by 4, then we are taking different values from theta is equal to 0 to pi, then we can calculate for each lambda by 2 distance the unit circle is completely covered, and further lambda by 4 distance, I mean 3 lambda by 4, the another half circle you can get in the visible region. Here you can see theta is equal to 0 and theta is equal to 180 degree, and this is the region of theta is equal to 90, and this is equal to again theta is equal to 90. So by using these visible and invisible region boundaries for the complex variable z, we can draw the radiation patterns. And this analysis we have discussed, and the important observation here you can see, in the visible region can be extended by increasing the spacing between the elements, as you can see in the case of figure 3d, where we have increasing the spacing length d is equal to lambda by 4, then we have extended the visible region additionally. And this is the case second that we have considered for beta is equal to pi by 4, and other things are same as theta varies from 0 to pi, and for the different value of d is equal to lambda by 4 to 3 lambda by 4, as you can see in figure 4. Again we can calculate the d beta is given, beta is equal to pi by 4 given, then we can calculate the value of psi which is equal to by this expression, and we are taking the different values of theta which lies between 0 to pi, then we can calculate the angle psi. And here you can see this is theta is equal to 0 and theta is equal to 180 degree. So here we can see this is for the beta is equal to 0, when beta is equal to pi by 4 we have considered, then this visible region is rotated anti-clockwise direction about pi by 4, because this is the addition factor. So d is equal to lambda by 8, the region is lies from x to jy region. Similarly, in the subsequent figure of 3 a b c d for different length d is equal to 3 lambda by 4 can be calculated when beta is equal to pi by 4. Here you can see this is the visible and invisible region boundaries for the complex variable z when beta is equal to pi by 4. And we can also take another cases when beta is equal to pi by 2 and so on. And we have considered the one example which is based on the Skolnick polynomial method, and this is the linear array, and spacing between the elements t is equal to lambda by 4 is given, and it has zeros, I mean roots at theta is equal to 0 degree, 90 degree and 180 degree. Determine the number of elements, their excitation, array factor, and plot the derived pattern. I mean plot the radiation pattern characteristics. These are the given parameters. Need to calculate the n, an and radiation pattern. So if the desired zeros of array factor must occur at theta is equal to 0, 90 and 180 degree. Then equation 4 we have considered, and this is the equation 4 that we have considered. By using this equation 4, we can calculate the corresponding j's which is exist z is equal to j1 and minus j on the unit circle. Thus a normalized form of the array factor can be calculated by using equation 6, and this is the equation 6. Here you can see this is the, by using this equation we can calculate the array factor. And the array factor lies z minus z1 and z minus z2, z minus z3, z minus j, z minus 1 and z plus j. So z equal to array factor z cube minus z square plus z minus 1. So referring to equation 5, the above array factor and desired radiation characteristics can be realized when there are 4 elements, as you can see, element 1, element 2, element 3 and element 4. So depending on the order, we can calculate the number of elements, and their excitation coefficients are a1 is equal to minus 1, a2 is equal to plus 1, a3 is equal to minus 1 and a4 is equal to plus 1. So we have calculated the value of number of elements, their excitation coefficient and their array factor, and further we have draw the amplitude radiation pattern for a 4 element array of isotropic sources with spacing d is equal to lambda by 4 between them. 0 degree progressive phase shift we have considered in this problem if none is given. In that case we have considered beta is equal to 0 and zeros are given, theta is equal to 0, 90 and 180 degree. In that case you can draw the pattern, and in the problem is given theta is equal to 0, 90 and 180 degree, the zeros are given. So in this figure you can see this is theta is equal to 0 degree, the null is exist, theta is equal to 90 degree, null is exist, theta is equal to 180 degree, null is exist and theta is equal to 90 degree, the null is exist. And this is the pattern we can draw, and the important analysis can be get from this figure that the symmetry of the array, the pattern of the hemisphere is identical to the right. I mean this is the left hemisphere and this is the right hemisphere, so we can calculate, and we can solve the problem based on the polynomial Skolnov method by using this procedure. This is the problem 2, and this problem is to test yourself how we can find out the number of elements, their excitation coefficient, array factor, and how we can plot the array factor pattern to verify the validity of design. This is for to test yourself. Thank you everyone for watching this lecture. I hope this lecture is beneficial for you. In the next lecture we will discuss about the other array synthesis methods. Thank you.